Okay, good morning. This is our presentation of FIP. Our project is about TV white space. TV white space is the spectrum which can be used to build a faster network environment known as Super Wi-Fi. Some other countries such as US, Great Britain, and Singapore has started to use or research on this topic, but Hong Kong up to now has not been started yet. The Super Wi-Fi requires a database administrator to operate, but in US regulations, the information of available channels should be provided for free. To give motivation for organizations to take the responsibility as database administrators, Professor Huang Jianwei, together with Dr. Luo Yuan and Gao Lin, raised a business model for TV white space market in their paper. They consider further information as a product which can be traded for money for the users to choose the best channel to connect. In our last semester, we have established a basic system which can enable the users to log in, to input their locations and send it to the server, and then the server will calculate the available channels and the interferences according to the location and the database. And then the server will send the information back to our application and show it to the user. And then the user can choose a channel. And finally, if the user wants to disconnect, it can choose logout. In this semester, we mainly focus on three additional parts. The first one is the GPS function and Google Map. Before, we only ask the user to input their locations. This means they can input any locations, and this may cause a messy condition in our database.
So I will introduce the GPS function and Google Map API. First, in this semester, we implement Google Map API and GPS function in our application. In last semester, we focus on the data transmission between the users and the server. So we allow the user to manually input the location data and send it to the server. This may cause some problems. First, if the users want to input some data randomly, and which is not very accurate, our server will still receive it and do the calculation. So this means there will be some errors. And second, because we use the user information and user choice to calculate the interference between users. So if the user's input is not very accurate, then the information sent to the other users will also exist some errors. In this semester, we implement the Google Map API and Android location function in our application. That means we can retrieve the real location data, which is the latitude and longitude, from the GPRS function on the mobile devices, and we do not we just display the location information on our screen, and we do not allow user to manually input anymore. So there will be less errors in our database, and the user can only get the location information from the background of our application by GPS and send it to the server. Because we use the Google service, so in case the Google server is down for some reason, we can also call the Android location function to get the data of the GPS. We also implement the payment function of PayPal. This is the PayPal API. We implement in our application by add the JR packet to our Android build path, and in our PayPal function, we can log in using our Sandbox account and finish the money transfer. For every successful payment, there will be a record under our account in Sandbox.
And after the PayPal server successfully transfer money to our business account, it will send an evidence back to our application. And after our application has received the evidence, it will go to next step. And the third thing we improved is our security Focus on three common types of attacks. The first one is XSS, the cross-site scripting, which means the user inputs executable scripts. For example, if a user wants to leave a message in a forum, he can input script, alert cookies script, and the database will store this in itself. And after that, maybe another user wants to see the message of this user. The client browser will load the input from the database, and this input is an executable script, and it will alert the cookies on the browser screen. And we can change the alert function into other functions, such as sending the cookies to our malicious server, so it is dangerous. But this can be avoided by violating user inputs and replace special characters maybe used in scripts. And the second one is CSRF attack. This is also common. For example, if a user logs into his bank account and after that he opens a malicious page containing the codes, sending a request to the bank server to transfer money to the attacker's account, and the browser will send the request together with the cookies, and the bank account will just do the transfer. And for our application, this risk does not exist because our application cannot open other pages except our fixed files. So the cookies cannot be used by some malicious pages. And even afterwards, the database administrators wants to implement a browser login. This attack can also be avoided by creating a random string in the form and send the string together with the cookies, and the server will check whether these two strings are the same. If they are the same, it means the user send the request of transferring money among the official page. And the third one is SQL injection. It means the user inputs a SQL query and execute in SQL. For example, if a user inputs the username admin and input the password as 2 or 1 equals to 1, the server will check whether the password is 2 or 1 equals to 1. Since 1 always equals to 1, the user can successfully log into admin account. To avoid this, we can use something called parameterized query. This will send the prepared query first to the database, and after that it will send the parameters, and the database will only execute the query prepared, and all the parameters will be considered as strings, so it can be avoided. And finally, we encrypted our passwords with a salt and MD5 function, so even an attacker get the salty passwords from our database, they cannot use the password to log into any system because the input system need to be plain text. And finally, for the future work, there are mainly three aspects. The first one is we need some hardware coding to enable our mobile phones to connect a certain spectrum. For example, the mobile phones can choose a channel, TV channel to connect. And the second one is the signals can only spread a shorter range indoor and on complicated conditions. And up to now, this problem has not, there is not a effective solution to this problem. And the third one is our system up to now has still been simple and naive. So for mature business applications, we need more functions such as changing password, create account, and setting various payment packets. To conclude,
okay. So for our consideration, our system design is a little simple, but I think we think that if a company want to open such a market model and want to provide such service, the system design will be more complicated to provide more complicated information to the users. But the prototype of the system must be something similar to our system. So that's our conclusion.
Thank you.